everybody, my name is Mr. Francy and welcome back to Mr. Francy Reads. Okay, so today I'm going to be doing my, what is it? April TBR, talking all the books I plan to read in the month of April. I'm going to start off with buddy reads because I have 5 buddy reads going on, if you can believe it, in the month of April, which is just... Really, it's just insane that I have so many buddy reads happening at the moment, but let's jump right on in. So the first buddy read I'm not going to be reading along with because it will be a reread for me, but I will get involved in the discussion, and that is our Brandon Sanderson Cosmere buddy read. We'll be reading the first half of this book, Words of Radiance. So this is a massive chunker. It's over 1,000 pages long, making it over a double tome. And so we're splitting it up into 2 parts. We're reading the first half in April and the second half in May. The second buddy read that we are doing is the Cassandra Clare buddy read. Now, the Cassandra Clare buddy read is going to be split up into 2 separate options. The first one is one that I will not be reading but will get involved in the discussion for, which is the first book in the Mortal Instruments series, this book, City of Bones. And the other option, this is like an and/or option, is the book that I will be reading, which is this book, The Red Scrolls of Magic, which is book 1 in the Eldest Curses duology. I am so excited to read this book. I have been so excited since I found out that this duology existed, and I don't even really know the premise, but I know who the 2 main characters are. So in the Mortal Instruments series, which is another series in Cassandra Clare's universe, in fact, book 1 is City of Bones, which we just spoke about, we are introduced to 2 characters. One is Magnus Bane and the other is Alec Lightwood, and they end up in a relationship. That's not a spoiler. It happens very early on. So their ship name is Malik, and I have been a massive Malik fan for, oh my gosh, the longest time. Since I knew of Malik, I've been a Malik fan. That is the book edition or the show edition of Shadowhunters, the series, TV series. I love Malik in either edition. And this duology focuses on Malik. So they are the 2 main characters, Magnus, and Alec, and I just am so excited. I have had this particular book, The Red Scrolls of Magic, displayed on my bookshelf for the entire month of March. That's how excited I am to get to that one. So this book is a YA fantasy. The next buddy read is the Haley Powell Food and Cocktail Mystery buddy reads that we're doing by Lee and Hollis. The April book is this book, Death of a Christmas Caterer. So this is book number 5 in this series. So starting in January, we read books 1 and 2. In February, we read book 3. In March, book 4. So now we're up to book 5. And we're planning to get through to book 13 by the end of the year. I was very let down by book number 4. The only thing I liked about it was that I picked the killer, which made me happy, but I loved books 1, 2, and 3, and I am really hoping... There is so much writing on this book, Death of a Christmas Caterer. I am hoping that this book redeems book 3 and makes me just forget about book 3 because, book 4, Book 3 was fine. Books 1, 2, and 3 in this series got 5 stars from me, but book 4 just, Death of a Chocoholic just really let me down. So there is a lot riding on Death of a Christmas Caterer. We will see how we go. Good luck, Lee and Hollis. The next buddy read, the 4th out of 5, is the Chronicles of Narnia buddy read. And so in February, I don't know where I'm going with this. In February, we read book number 1, which was The Magician's Nephew. In March, we read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, book number 2 in chronological order. And so in April, we're reading book number 3, this book, The Horse and His Boy. This is a middle grade classic. And by the way, Death of a Christmas Caterer is an adult cozy mystery. I forgot to mention that earlier. So at the time of recording, I have not yet read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I just haven't gotten to it yet, but it is the next book I'm picking up. I have read The Magician's Nephew, and I thought it was a great setup. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe will technically be a reread for me because I have read it before, but I read it so long ago that the majority of the things in the book I don't remember. There's very small minor details that I remember, and that's it. So we'll see how we go with that one. The final buddy read, as I said, I have 5 buddy reads. Who is crazy enough to set up 5 buddy reads for pretty much every single month moving forward from April? I had 4 up until March, and now I have 5. And I have been so excited about this buddy read that I really hope the first book and book B, we'll get to that in a moment, don't let me down because of just how excited I have been to finally try this. So that is the Zodiac Academy buddy read. So the official book that we are reading in the month of April is this book, The Awakening, which is book number 1. This is I think technically it's a new adult fantasy, but I don't really classify new adult as an age range. I've never been comfortable with including new adult. So I don't know if it's going to be YA or adult for me. I'll find out when I read it. At the moment, I'm just categorizing it as adult, but we'll see how we go. So the interesting thing is that my dear friend Amy, who has read, I think, the entire series, or she's close to being done with the entire series, actually gave us all a heads up that we can read this book alongside another one. And so I'm just going to get what that other one is. That is this book, As Told by the Boys. So apparently The Awakening and As Told by the Boys are interchangeable in that you read a certain amount of chapters in The Awakening and then you read a certain amount of chapters in As Told by the Boys, and you go back and forth, and it gives you different perspectives doing it that way. I have never done this before. I've never read 2 books at once that interlock and interweave in such a big way. I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to start off trying to read both and see what happens and go from there, but I don't promise to continue on with As Told from the Boys. Seriously, the only time I've done anything like this interweaving stuff is back in the day when I used to watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I didn't really love that show, but I loved Angel, and so when Angel had his own series, I really got into that and then found that there was a connecting way of watching Buffy alongside watching Angel, and so I did that for a little while. But aside from that, I've never done any 2 things that interweave, like, 2 separate things that interweave before, so it'll be interesting to see how that does go for me. But yeah, we are starting this buddy read fresh this month, book 1 and book 1A, I guess. And if you'd like to join us for any of these buddy reads, please note that there is a link to the Discord below, and come along and join us. It's going to be a whole lot of fun, lots of buddy reading to do. Alright, so I'm going to spend the rest of my TBR discussing all the other books that I plan to read in the month of April. And so usually I order my TBRs in the order that I'm reading them, but for this month I wanted to do my buddy reads first, so don't think that this is going to be my reading order. I'm just telling you what's on the TBR. If you want to work out on your own what my reading order is going to be, look up the page count for all of these books. I always read in page count order, total page count order, starting off with the longest book on my TBR and ending with the shortest one. So it would be a safe guess to assume that I'll be reading the Chronicles of Narnia book last, because that's what's happened every month so far. But anyway, let's keep going. So the first book that's not a buddy read that I'm planning to read is one that I've been incredibly excited about for a long time. In March, I spoke about books I've been waiting 3 years to read. I don't know if this one has been 3 years, but it's been a significant amount of time for me. And that is this book, My Only Sunshine by M.J. Fleming. I have heard a lot of good things about this book. Now, this book is marketed as an adult thriller. I have had thrillers that have let me down in the past. For more on this, check out my genre hot takes video that I did recently, where I speak about thrillers and how they've let me down and my hot take on that. But I have heard that this is incredibly thrilling, and that does excite me. I am someone who's very eclectic when it comes to my genres, as you may already know, and if you don't, you may have noticed that already with the books I've already shown. I love diversifying my reading and reading as many different genres as I can each month, and certainly as well throughout the year. But my biggest problem is when I pick up a thriller, fully excited and eagerly anticipating what I'm going to get from this thriller, but knowing one thing for certain, I'm going to be on the edge of my seat. To not be on the edge of my seat is a massive letdown, and the majority of thrillers I've read have not done that for me, and they've felt like mysteries for me rather than thrillers. But this one I hear is extremely thrilling. That's all I need to know. And that's all you're going to know, because I don't give premises in my TBRs. If you're new, hi, welcome. I don't give premises. But if any of these books interest you, pause the video, go over to Goodreads and have a look at the premise over there. That's what I used to do and still do sometimes. So there you go. There's that one, My Only Sunshine. Very much looking forward to it. I am hoping that I can trust that it is actually going to be thrilling. The next book that I plan to read is a book that is on my SAS list. It is a new to me series. I'm starting book 1 in, and I am very excited about that. And that is my second Amanda Flower series that I'm reading for this year. For those of you who don't know, last year I read Amanda Flower's 2 Amish series, Amish Candy Shop and Amish Matchmaker. I fell in love with Amanda Flower incredibly quickly and wanted to again diversify myself, but in this case with Amanda Flowers series. So I chose 2 series of hers to put on my SAS list for this year. The next book I'm reading is one of those series, and that is book 1 in the Magical Bookshop mystery series. It is called Crime and Poetry. So this is an adult cozy mystery. I'm excited to read this. I read book 1 in the other series that I'm reading of hers, which we'll mention that book that I'm reading in April soon. And the only reason I'm bringing it up is because last year I read her Amish stuff, and this year it feels like I'm reading her magic, quote unquote magic stuff. And the first book in her other quote unquote magic series had a little sprinkling of magic in there, and I appreciated it. It really worked for me in a cozy that we had this little tiny magical element that was there. So I'm really intrigued to see how Amanda Flower will take the concept of magic and include it in this bookshop mystery series. So Crime and Punishment, adult cozy, very excited to get into this one. The next book I plan to read, I actually know the premise of, and that's why I got the book. I remember hearing about this book many years ago, and from the moment I heard the premise of this book, I said, yes, I need to read this, and then I never did for some reason. But I finally am getting around to it. Let's put it up on the screen. It is this book, Neverworld Wake by Marisha Pessl. I am so excited. So, first of all, let's give the stats on this one. Neverworld Wake is a YA mystery, which is great because I don't read a lot of mysteries. So it's awesome that I'm reading My Only Sunshine because I haven't read a lot of thrillers this year, and also great that I'm reading Neverworld Wake because I haven't read a lot of mysteries this year. Granted, I've read a lot of cozies, but I haven't read a lot of mysteries this year, or lately, even if we look back into last year. But what intrigues me about this one is it sounds to me like a cross between a fantasy and one of my all-time favorite reality TV shows, Survivor. So the little premise I know about this is that we have these people who are stuck on an island, I guess, somewhere, and what they don't know is that they're going through a time loop. Apparently, this is not a spoiler because it's part of the premise. They're in a time loop, and then one day someone who is aware of the time loop announces this fact and says that the only way they can break the time loop is to vote off people one by one, people that they're happy to sacrifice. This sounds like a very intriguing premise to me. I've heard intriguing premises in the past that have not worked for me, but I'm really hoping this one will, to the point that I actually hold a hardcover edition in my hands because it was the edition that I wanted. So I'm hoping I'm not going to DNF this, and I'm hoping that I love it. But if Marisha Pessel does not fail in her execution of what sounds like an amazing premise, then I feel like I'm going to have an amazing book on my hands. Let's hope we don't get to my April monthly wrap where I say, it sounded amazing, unfortunately, it's not. So, I've been there already this year and in other years too, so we'll see how we go, but I am, at this stage, incredibly excited to get to this one. The next book that I plan to read is going to help me to cross a series off of my SAS list, which is always so satisfying. It's always good to cross a series off the SAS list, and I have so many series on my SAS list, and my top priority SAS list, because I have 3 SAS lists this year, but my top priority is my to be completed, and one of the series on that to be completed list is the To All the Boys I've Loved Before trilogy. So in April, I'm reading the 3rd and final book in this trilogy, which is this book, Always and Forever, Lara Jean. So this has been an interesting series for me. The first half of book 1, which it was called To All the Boys I Loved Before. I had to think of what it was called there for a moment. I did not like the first half at all. Lara Jean came across to me as being incredibly immature, and I just, for some reason, I stuck it out. I don't know why, because I had not long before that DNF'd a book because the character was too immature for me. But for some reason, I decided to stick it out, and I'm glad I did, because by the time I got to the halfway mark, from the halfway mark through to the end, so the second half of the book, I absolutely enjoyed. So then I went on to P.S. I Still Love You, book number 2, and I was a bit nervous, but then I read the premise. I normally go in blind into books, but I was so nervous I read the premise, and the premise got me really excited because it was going to continue on with something that I had enjoyed from book 1, and I actually loved book 2 a whole lot better than I did book 1. So I'm hoping we're going to get a thrilling, satisfying conclusion to this trilogy that has grown on me book by book. So we'll see how we go. But Always and Forever by Lara Jean is a YA romance, I think. Let's see. Yes, it is. It's a YA romance. I don't know why I questioned that. It's a YA romance, and I'm looking forward to reading this final book in this trilogy, as well as crossing it off my SAS list. Whether I love a series or not, it's always satisfying crossing a series off my SAS list. It's great to have that accomplishment. But at the same time, I am looking forward to seeing how Jenny Han goes about wrapping up this trilogy that has, as I say, grown on me throughout the course of time. Okay. Irony is a very interesting word. Irony. And that is because over on my Discord at the moment, we are playing this game, and that game is called Book Survival Island, where we compiled a list of 14 at the moment cozy mysteries, but we're going to go through different genres until we get an ultimate winner. But at the moment we have 14 cozy mysteries, and day by day we are placing votes for the ones that we like, and the one that gets least amount of votes is voted off the island until we get a winner. And currently in that list is a book that is getting a whole lot of votes, and I am so excited that I'm going to get to it, considering how much you all over on the Discord seem to really love this book and this series. Okay. let's put it up on the screen, then we can talk more. It is book number 1 in the Cider Shop Mystery Series, Apple Cider Slang by Julie Ann Lindsay. Alright, before we go any further, hold the phone. Mr. Francy is a huge fan of Julie Ann Lindsay's, but if you were to look up Julie Ann Lindsay on my books that I've read since I started this channel, you will not find her anywhere on that list. Why? Because what I love about her, she wrote under a pen name of Jacqueline Frost. So for those of you who don't know, Julie Ann Lindsay has the pen name of Jacqueline Frost. With that pen name, she wrote the Christmas Tree Farm series, book 1 being 12 Slaves of Christmas. I love that series so much. Book 4 has come out, apparently, already, which is great. I'm gonna wait probably till December to read that one because I want to read it at Christmas time. I usually read a ton of Christmas books at Christmas time, so I'm happy to wait for book number 4. But I've loved the first 3 so far. That I wanted to read more of Jacqueline Frost, whose actual name is Julie Ann Lindsay's, work. So I decided to put Apple Cider Slang on my SAS list this year, and, the Cider Shop Mystery Series on my SAS list this year, and Apple Cider Slang is book number 1 in that series, and I'm finally now getting to it. So y'all seem to think on my Discord that this is a really good book, so I hope I enjoy it as much as y'all do. I am very excited to get to it. This is an adult cozy mystery. You know, I'm just realizing that I said at the start of the year that I didn't want to have cozy mysteries dominate my genres list for 2023. What year are we in? 2023? 2023. And so far it is because I have so many cozy series that I want to get to. But anyway, it's all good. All right. So the next book that I plan to read, okay. In December, I read a book that I absolutely loved. I found a new to me favorite author and I knew I had to read more of their work. It wasn't a situation of maybe if I get time. No. I actually wrote this author when I read this book. I think maybe I was at the quarter or third of the, it was either a quarter or a third of the way through the book that I actually contacted the author and said, oh my gosh, thank you so much. I love your book, and just gushed and gushed and gushed. And then the more I continue on with the book, the better it got, and I'd already loved it at that point anyway, so I knew I had to read more of their works. I'm talking about Timothy Janowski. So I read You're a Mean One, Matthew Prince, during December last year because it's a Christmas book and absolutely loved it, and then I found out he had written other books, and so I decided to grab this book that's on my April TBR. So excited. Never Been Kissed. So Never Been Kissed is also new adult, just like The Awakening, but I'm going to classify it as adult until proven differently. If I think it's YA, I'll say it's YA. As I say, I just don't recognize the genre of new adult. It is what it is. I just find new adult to be really weird. It was just an age range that came from out of nowhere for me, and so it just doesn't fit within how I classify age ranges. So yeah, that's why you don't hear me talk about it on the channel, and yet I'm reading two books that are classified with that rating this month. But anyway, I will determine whether it is YA or adult when I do my monthly wrap, but at the moment I'm calling it adult. So, don't know a lot about this one, but all I know is that it is an LGBTIQ+ male-male romance. I'm looking forward to it. I want to read more LGBTIQ+. Actually, that's not fair. It is not fair to say I want to read more. I need to read more LGBTIQ+. One of the things I wanted to do in the early stages of this channel was have more LGBTIQ+ representation of books on this channel to get the word out there about them. And I kind of slipped a little last year and slipped back and didn't read as many. And it wasn't because I was consciously doing that. It was because I was in an avalanche of cozy mysteries. Like, seriously, I was so inundated in that avalanche last year of cozy mysteries. I think more than half of the books I read were cozies last year. That prompted me wanting to read more diversely this year. But anyway, so I'm really, really happy because in March I read 2 LGBTIQ plus books, and in April I'm reading another one. So hopefully I can keep this going and continue to just read more and more and more. But I love Timothy Janowski. I automatically trusted him after reading You're a Mean One, Matthew Prince. So I'm hoping that that will continue, because I found at times that sometimes when you love an author after reading one book, it could just be a flash in the pan and it's one book that's great, but the rest aren't. But if I can read the first 2 books from an author and love them both, then it is a lock for me. And I have a lock of an author for this month, for March, that we'll discuss in my March wrap-up. I'm hoping I have a lock for this author, Timothy Janowski. Very much looking forward to Never Been Kissed. Now, here's the very interesting thing. I have one more book that I have on my TBR, but I'm wondering if I should actually save this book or not. I'm just having a look to see if this book is going to be placed in another month, and it is. Okay, I might hold off in that case on this one. Yeah, I might leave it. I will determine what to do. So the next book that I was going to show you, which was going to be my final book for this month, was going to be this book, The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson. Book number 3 in the Mistborn Era 1 series. Can't believe I said halfway through that when it's my favourite series of all time. But anyway, I'm talking about so many different books in this TBR that it's hard to keep track sometimes. Yeah, I read... oh gosh... my favourite book of all time, The Final Empire. What is going on, Mr. Francy? I read The Final Empire. I started The Final Empire in late February. I reread for like the 4th time in February, and carried it over to March. Finished it in early March, and then picked up The Well of Ascension, and I'm nearly done with Well of Ascension. I think I'm about 100 pages away from being done with The Well of Ascension. And so I was just going to jump right into Hero of Ages, but now I'm wondering, because Hero of Ages is actually part of my Cosmere buddy read over on the Discord. So, I don't know. Alright, let's put it on the TBR for now, and if I end up deciding not to read it, then you'll be able to keep up to date with that decision with my reading goals. So I will put it on the TBR for now. I think one of the greatest things about rereading this series that I love so much is that when I don't have as much time during the week, I can just focus on reading my Mistborn, and it works really well for me. So I'll put it onto the TBR for now, but if for some reason I decide not to go ahead and actually read it, then I'll let you all know in one of the reading vlogs for April, and we'll go from there. Alright. Including The Hero of Ages, I plan to read 11 books in the month of April. So now in your mind, let's imagine that we're playing everyone's favourite game, where I grab all the books and then hold them up in the screen to you all to show you all and say the magic words. Now for everyone's favourite game that we like to call up. These are the books that I plan to read at this stage in the month of April 2023. What books do you plan to read in the month of April 2023? Let me know in the comments section below. But in the meantime, that is where I am going to leave it, letting you all go with peace, blessings, and so much love. Please do be kind and love one another, and spread your sparkling energy all throughout the world. And until next time, say it with me, happy reading. Bye everyone!